Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and today I've got just a quick little kind of update video for you guys. A little bit of ESO news, a developer deep dive, and they want to say, let's talk about class identity in ESO. And this is normally not something that I would cover, but because of just the incredible dismay that this game's been thrown into in these past this past patch and this upcoming patch with these changes that Zenimax is kind of making, this is a big deal right now, so let's get into it. So, Zenimax Online Studios gameplay lead Rob Garrett shares his team's philosophies and vision for both class identity and combat in the Elder Scrolls Online. Class identity has long been an important topic, especially in recent months on the ESO forums, in social channels, and on the dev team. This loaded term can mean different things to different people, and we can all agree that it's an important element in creating a satisfying combat experience. In an effort to improve how we communicate our vision for the combat in ESO going forward, we thought this would be a good topic to dive into and share our perspective. So I agree with this. This is definitely something that I think the player base wants to hear about from the developers, is what they're thinking for class identity, and maybe giving us a little bit of insight as to what they see for class identity in this game and what they would consider to be, you know, that identity. So when our team uses the term class identity, we're referring to what makes the experience of playing a class feel unique from other classes, regardless of what role the character may be fulfilling. We break that experience down into two primary components: power fantasy and play patterns. So power fantasy refers to the fictional justification of your character's power and how it's expressed through the look and feel of abilities. Necromancers draw their strength from death magic as they manipulate souls, flesh, and bone. Templars call upon the power of light and the burning sun. Every class should have a clearly defined source of power, and class abilities should reinforce that fantasy through their descriptions, animations, visual effects, and audio. When you see a player using class abilities, you should have little doubt which class they are playing, and it should look awesome. So yeah, this is just pretty much how it looks. I don't know why they called it power fantasy. They could have just said how the class looks, because they just want it to look like the class. Now, I don't feel like this is an issue. I feel like we don't have this problem. When you're fighting an opponent and they're actually fighting back, you know what class they're on, you know, just by looking at their abilities. There's a very clear visual definition between classes, so this is part of how they define class identity, I guess, is the visual aspect of it. So I don't think that this is an issue with class identity right now, is that they don't look like the class. They definitely look and feel like the class, and they seem to have their own unique themes across the classes for sure. Now, moving on, they say that the power fantasy, however, should not dictate or constrain your character's role in battle. One of our mantras for ESO is play the way you want, and in this case, we mean any class can fulfill any role. To better achieve this ideal while also maintaining the unique functionality flavor of each class, all class kits need to include the basic tools required to fulfill each role. To be clear, our goal is for every class to be viable, not necessarily optimal in any role, without heavily relying on non-class skill lines. And then currently there's a number of class kits that don't succeed in that goal, particularly when it comes to stamina choices or healer builds or stamina healing builds. And those cases are prime candidates to receive additional attention and more significant changes in the future. So this is one of probably the only really bit of information that I think we get from this entire article that is really useful, that tells us a lot about what Zenimax has in mind for upcoming class identity. First of all, viable, not optimal. This is something that they haven't really come out and said in the past. They've always said they want everything to be able to do anything, but they've never really said the viable, not optimal line. At least I haven't heard it, so this is the first time that I've seen them say viable, not optimal. I like this. In my personal, honest opinion, this is kind of good, because it means that the classes will be more pronounced at the cost of, you know, Dragon Knight being, for example, maybe the best tank for dungeons or whatever. I don't know if it is, but, you know, that's just an example there of, like, let's say DK is always the best tank and Nightblade is always the best DPS by like 1 or 2k DPS. And that is what we could see here. Now, my big concern when it comes to this is that PvP balance. It means that some classes will just be better at PvP than others, specifically like a solo role and stuff like that. So you'll have Templar or whatever being the best healer, and you'll have DK being the best tank, and then Nightblade being the best like solo speed or whatever. And this kind of scares me in that aspect, because it's not that I don't like this approach, because if they can balance this right, it could be really cool and healthy for the game, but that's big. That's the big if, you know, can they balance this right? And I guess we wouldn't be having a post like this on the main page in the news section if they were balancing things right, is kind of my point. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But we learned a lot about their insight here. I would love to know what you guys think about this statement here. And then the second little bit of like useful information that I think we got here is that stamina and healer choices. I think specifically they want to see stamina do more than just damage, and they want to see healer builds include stamina builds as well. Now, the second component of class identity focuses on play patterns, which are the specific mechanics and behaviors that you have to learn, engage with, and master to achieve objectives in battle. While all healers might have the objective of prevent ally health from reaching 0, you can achieve this through several effect behaviors: direct heals, heal over time, damage shields, and damage reduction, to name a few. Each of these effect behaviors exhibits benefits and limitations that, when combined with a triggering method, make them more or less effective in various contexts. Direct heals, for example, can quickly replenish an ally who is low on health, but you have to wait until the ally has taken damage to use it, at risk of a loss of cost efficiency if you overheal. You can apply this same model of thought to damage and tanking abilities. So this is just kind of that risk versus reward approach, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is kind of the philosophy behind their balance yet again, and it's not the approach that's wrong, it's the swings in direction and stuff. You know, they're buffing dots way too hard, they're nerfing them way too hard, stuff like that. And this is, again, you know, we understand that this is the goal, that you want to have like different abilities that are better or worse in different situations and stuff like that, but the team behind it is making the swings way too extreme that it's just impossible to find that balance point at all. Especially now, like, I don't know, I feel like coming into this new patch, as a long-term player of this game, I have no idea how the new patch is even going to really feel. I have no idea how dots are going to be comparatively to other skills, and it's just because they've gone like and over buffed and over nerfed them so hard that I just don't even have a frame of reference anymore. So that's the issue again that I bring up, is that yes, this is a great philosophy, and yes, I think the players understood this, but again, the balance team behind what's going on here has been swinging this and making it hard for the players to get this end result. Now, moving on, the triggering method itself is the other major factor of play patterns, since it defines the inputs and conditions you must satisfy to trigger the effect behavior. Most abilities include conditions related to range, targeting, resource type, and resource cost. Some abilities, such as Nightblade's Grim Focus and Sorcerer's Crystal Frags, include additional custom requirements. Custom requirements can be very effective for creating a unique feel for an ability, but also easily wander into territory where they feel too gimmicky, unnecessarily complex compared to other abilities with similar effect behaviors, or misaligned with the power fantasy of the character. Successful ability design demands a healthy relationship between the triggering method and effect behavior. The new design for bound armaments in Update 24 is one of our recent attempts to achieve this with the Sorcerer's Kit for stamina builds. Okay, so yeah, I did really want to talk about the stuff that they put in this post, because, yeah, I just did. There's a lot that I have to say here, and the first thing that I want to bring up is, you know, the triggering method itself. They're talking just about how they want each class to kind of feel different to play when you use your different combos for whatever kind of end goal you're trying to achieve. And that's great. That's, again, you know, the philosophy of balance just in general. This isn't something that maybe uniquely Zenimax made up, I guess is what I'm saying. This is just balance in general. But again, you know, then they talk about this next part, and this is where I get a little upset with reading some of the stuff that's in here. So some abilities such as Nightblade's Grim Focus and the Sorcerer's Crystal Frags add the custom requirements, and they can be very effective for that unique feel, but easily wander into territory where they can feel too gimmicky, unnecessarily complex, you know, misaligned with the power fantasy. These are things that are directly related to Zenimax's ability to balance the game. This has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that they feel too gimmicky. When something feels gimmicky, it is not because it's a bad idea. It is not because you can't fit it into the game. It is because the team who put it in the game made it gimmicky. They didn't make it proper. And that's the big issue here. And, you know, when they talk about class identity, and then they say they like these things that make class identity, like Sorcerer's Crystal Frags. This is one of the things that defines Sorcerer. Grim Focus, this is one of the things that defines Nightblade. And then they say right next to it that they're concerned about things feeling too gimmicky. This directly stems from Zenimax just not doing a good job balancing this game. And that's all I can really say here. If they do a good job balancing the game, we don't have gimmicky skills. When they can't balance them and they remove them to homogenize everything down, that's when things feel gimmicky. So that's really like, this is a really pointed point for me. Because Zenimax, to put these two in conjunction with each other, I mean, triggered. Anyway. The combination of triggering method and effect behavior establishes this mechanical feel of an ability, and when you string together several abilities in conjunction with core mechanics, movement, attack, block, etc., a play pattern emerges. These play patterns are critical to reinforcing class identity by differentiating the experience along these axes, playing the same role with different classes, playing different roles with the same class, and engaging in PvE versus PvP activities. To temper expectations, it's highly unlikely we will ever reach a point where every class and every role feels equally unique in both PvE and PvP, but it's an ideal we can continue to strive towards as we revisit class, kits, and skill lines. So this just kind of brings me back to my previous post and the whole gimmicky mechanic thing. You know, the combination of different abilities that we use to kind of make that feel across different classes, be it in PvE, PvP, etc., when you homogenize things because they feel too gimmicky, instead of properly balance them, you create an environment where everything feels the same to play. So the issues that they're having, I think that they talk about here, where that play pattern emerges and they want to define that play pattern across the different classes, is again because they shoot themselves in their own foot. They just give up on some of these gimmicky mechanics. I'm sorry I'm coming back to this word so much, but I'm pretty upset with this freaking paragraph here. Yeah, they keep coming back to these gimmicky mechanics and then not being able to properly balance them because they don't put the time or effort into it, and they give up on them, they homogenize them, and But anyway, you know, and then we get on to the next part here. Roles feel unique in all different situations. So you play DPS on different classes, it feels unique. You play the different roles on your same class, they all feel unique to play. And you play in PvE versus PvP, your class will feel unique versus the other classes to play. And then they say that they can strive towards this ideal of trying to make things feel unique in PvE and PvP, but they don't think they can. I don't know. Either they're admitting that they're incapable, and the rest of this post where they say we're doing a great job and we have all this vision is all hoo-ha, and this is the truth right here, or, you know, this is just, I don't know, them trying to save face on the forums or something. This is not a good excuse. They should be able to do this. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions, because, like, this game is 5.5 years old. We shouldn't even have this. Like, is kind of my point. We shouldn't be reading this. This shouldn't be a thing. We should be doing just PvP content on the channel. But unfortunately, we are doing this, and it's because, you know, of the state of this game. And for them to put a statement in here like, yeah, we just kind of, you know, are okay with giving up. Like, we're okay with it never being okay. That's pretty much what they said. Like, if it doesn't work out, that's fine, because it's not a big deal for us. That's pretty much what they just said there. If we don't have class identity in PvE and PvP, and PvP is always dominated by one class, one spec, or whatever, there's some meta build that beats everything else, that is fine with us, and vice versa for PvE. You know, and I know that balance is a tough place to reach, but I always come back to that point. We shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be talking about this stuff. Now, moving on to the next and last maybe bit. Oh my god, we still got more to go. Now you may be asking yourself how non-class skill lines fit into this theoretical world of strong class identities. After all, if class abilities are the embodiment of power fantasy, and class kits include all the basic tools required to fulfill a role, why would you bother with using abilities outside those kits? The team is still exploring this problem, but our current thinking is that non-class skill lines should fulfill two primary purposes. First, they should allow you to fill gaps in your build when your class kit doesn't provide the exact behaviors you need or are comfortable with, and second, they should open up the possibility of space of your character's build, both in terms of power fantasy and play patterns, by mixing and matching from the large pool of available abilities. So, I mean, this is pretty good, I think. It just means that Zenimax wants to keep non-class abilities viable, and what's important about them is that they add kind of more variety to your character, and that's kind of typically what we've seen from the non-class skills, things like Vampirism, Psijic Order, Fighter's Guild, Mage's Guild. They just add more to your kit, allowing you to kind of make up for things that you're lacking, and, you know, give you those other options if you don't have them. And I like that. So this is good here, but this is again a philosophy thing, and this stems in the fact that we've just seen poor balance overall these past patches, and you know, that's the problem here. It's not that we don't see this already, it's that balance is bad. And now, moving on again, what we don't want is to create a scenario where, to be effective, you feel obliged to fill a majority of your hotbar slots with non-class abilities. Forfeiting your class identity should be an option, but not a requirement to engage in PvE and PvP. We acknowledge this is not currently a reality for many classes and builds, and this is one of the major areas for improvement we intend to tackle. I mean, dot meta, like, this is literally Scalebreaker in a nutshell. So, yeah, maybe they understand Scalebreaker was bad. I think they do, because this whole post to me just seems like damage control more than anything, because Scalebreaker was so bad and Dragonhold is not looking to be much better for them. So, yeah, this all stems, again, from the whole balance issue we have with the balanced team. The team's immediate focus on this front is to look at some of the more significant outlier cases where classes are lacking unique play patterns and over-rely on abilities outside their kit. The aforementioned bound armaments change, as well as the update to Warden's Growing Swarm Morph, are a couple recent examples of this effort. We consider these changes to be a stopgap measures while the team evaluates more holistic improvements for each class in the future. We are not ready to share details on these long-term stuff. It's just scary, because they say, like, this is what we want to focus on, but, like, all that everybody got from the last set of patch notes was that dots are bad and we need to nerf them into uselessness. Let's finish this up and I'll give you my final thoughts. Hopefully we shed light on how we use the term class identity internally. In summary, we define success as delivering class kits that combine cohesive, satisfying power fantasies with unique and effective play patterns. The end result should be the ability to fill any role with any class while retaining the look and feel of that class. You can expect a future update to include changes with this goal in mind. As always, your feedback is welcome, and we appreciate your continued support. So yeah, we know that you appreciate our support. Our feedback is not really welcome. We all know that. Zenimax, we really have to yell to get through to you guys, I guess is kind of what I'm saying. So yeah, this whole thing, you know, this is just damage control. I mean, there was almost nothing of substance in here at all. The only thing that we got any kind of usable information for what we'll see in the future is this: viable, not optimal. So it gives us an idea. This was the only sentence that gave us any kind of, like, solid, concrete information. And then we got some hints as to, like, stamina healer, possibly. But, like, all of this other stuff is just fluff. And, like, I mean that in the most respectful way possible. This is, like, it's just saying things that everybody already knew. Not just already knew, but, like, these are things that a non-game developer could tell you about class identity, is kind of my point. Like, I don't develop games, and I could give you the exact rundown of everything they said here in just one sentence. We want the different classes to look different so you can identify them as that class, and they have a unique look and theme to them, and we want them to feel different to play. So they physically feel different performing in different roles, but they're viable to do everything as well. Yeah, like, that was literally it. This is so much fluff, and, like, a majority of this is just common sense balance stuff. Like, we want the classes to be functional in all roles. Well, of course. Like, of course they wouldn't put in here, we don't want the classes to be functional in all roles. We got almost nothing out of this post, and that's why, like, I don't know. I feel like this is just damage control because of what's going on with the game right now and the balance. The balance team messed up really bad with Scalebreaker, and Dragonhold is not looking to be better. And yeah, all I can really say is this looks like damage control. I honestly don't even think this was written by the balance team. I think this was written by a PR team who just took notes from the balance team about what should be in it. Because I don't think the balance team would write a set of notes talking about class direction that is this confident after the past couple patches that we've seen from Zenimax. You know, I think they would have a little bit more awareness of the situation that this game is kind of in right now. And like I said, like I don't want to be super harsh or anything. I'm just giving my honest opinions. Like this just seems like fluff to me. Like I don't see the point of this outside of damage control. There's nothing really good for information here. So there you go, guys. I honestly would love to hear your thoughts on what's going on with this game, what's going on with balance in this game, and what is specifically going on with this company and why they continue to do things like this instead of maybe just sitting down and talking with their community about what this game needs. You know, I think it's something that the community has been, you know, we've been all over the place in how we've been telling Zenimax, but the message has been very clear, is that you need to listen to your community, because what you're doing isn't healthy for the game long term at all. So, you know, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about these big questions, and I've been really not wanting to make a video about this kind of stuff, but like, it's such a big issue in this game now, and it's something that I personally have affect my gameplay every day. And it's hard for me to sometimes enjoy this game because of the things that this balance team does and this company does with this game. And, you know, when we talk about the things like balance, it's just one of the many issues that especially PvP faces with ESO. And, you know, I think it's one of the big reasons why PvP has just struggled so hard to see any substantial growth at all throughout the lifetime of this game. And, you know, I think the fact that, like I said throughout this review, we're 5 years into this, 5.5 years into this game, and we have a developer deep dive on class identity. 2019. I mean, that's all I have to say. That is literally all I have to say. This is a $1 million company. This is a massive MO. You know, we're 5 years into this. Yeah. That's all I have to say. So I hope that you guys maybe enjoyed the video. I don't know. It wasn't really a great, exciting video, to be honest, but it was something that I did feel like we needed to talk about. So if you guys did enjoy yourselves, be sure to hit that like button. If you guys are new here and you want to see more content from me, I create lots of PvP builds, gameplay content, commentaries, and I feature fantastic content from the community. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you guys are interested in sending in any of your own content for the top 5 or a build to be featured on the channel, you can send it to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. We are sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers. They give me better ping to my favorite games, and they're free to try for the first 30 days. There's no credit card to sign up, so no harm, no foul if it doesn't give you guys what you're looking for. And last but certainly not least, if you guys really love the show and you want to help support it, you can always become a patron on Patreon. Without your help, I wouldn't be able to do this job that I love so much. So a big thank you to everyone who's helping support the show. And of course, a big thank you to everyone just for tuning in and watching today. I hope to see you guys again next time. Have a great night, everyone.